Press Start Podcast.
And welcome back to the Press Star Podcast. I'm your host, Vic, aka Mr. Never Chill, and this is episode number 113. And this week we welcome back Scott, aka Scobie1.
Hey everybody, how is it going tonight?
And on my other side, I do got Lunatic Oblivion, aka the Roger.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
What's going on, guys? How was you guys this week?
It's all right. It's
Yeah.
all right. It's been a busy 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's definitely to say the least. This weekend alone, given that yesterday was my birthday and like we had a bunch of other birthday parties to go to as well. It's been pretty crazy, and obviously with the kid, that's never ending. What about you, Scott? I think you went to the Ren Fair again.
Did that was since we're all October babies within 13 days of each other. It's been a crazy week. So for my birthday, we went to the Ren Fair yesterday. It was like the final episode. It was the final weekend of the season. So they had like later shows, finales, all that good stuff to watch. So that was super fun, but long day, very long day.
I hear that. So, Roger, obviously you missed out on last week's episode, and so you played a little bit more games than we have here, according to our list. But I do want to talk about a couple of your games here because got a lot of good ones here. First off, let's kick it off with Like a Dragon Ishin. How was this take? Because I know you were playing through the previous Yakuza games. How is this compared to those ones?
Honestly, it's refreshing. It is one of the best Yakuza games I've played. Zero Yakuza, the original Yakuza remake is probably the only one. That and Zero are the only ones that kind of compare gameplay wise. For me, what's really hard about the Yakuza games lately is the combat just has it's so poor at times, especially from number 2 to number 5 so far. It just doesn't feel good. It just feels long-winded, bosses are silly, and it gets so repetitive and just dull. Whereas this one has fixed that, it feels like. You actually get damage numbers, you can see what you're doing to your opponents, bosses don't take an hour to beat, and you don't have to watch as they just pound your face into the ground repeatedly. Honestly, this game is awesome, and for it to be free on Game Pass, just it makes it so much better, and it makes me so much more excited to get into the Like of Dragon as opposed to finishing the Yakuza, which I will finish Yakuza, but I'm excited for more Like a Dragon.
Right. Did you play the regular Yakuza Like a
Yeah,
Dragon? Okay. Because I heard
not yet.
that one was really well, and then we got Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, coming out next month as well. So then that's coming to Game Pass day one. So that'll be an easy transition for you there. But Scott, you were playing Baldur's Gate 3 here before the stream. You were trying to grind out a last battle there, and it's been tough. So it seems like you're at the end of the game. It sounds like.
I am. I just finished the second to last battle. I spent the week really tying up a lot of loose ends, finishing out other characters' quests and stories. So I finished Asterians, I finished Shadow Hearts, I finished Night Song, if anybody's familiar with that one. That gets pretty weird and intricate. And then I just finished out Karlax with the death of Gortash, and getting ready to go into the final fight. I've also done a little bit of side fights like Ansur, the Bronze Dragon. Um, Spoiler alert, but I mean, I'm way late to the game. It's taken me forever to beat this, so if you didn't know that, you weren't gonna. But I'm there and I'm right at the edge, and I think maybe after this I might be hopping on depending, just to finish it out, just to be done and get that off my chest because that is like 192 hours of playtime that I have just a lot of it was AFK and idle and stuff like that, but the other side of it was you already know me and how I play. Like I'll be going to do one thing and then bam, side quest, bam, what's this, bam, what's that, and it was prevalent throughout this entire playthrough.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's how I've been, like I said, with Starfield, which I haven't played in a few weeks. But yeah, I know exactly how that goes. You just constantly just side content. Like if the side content is like at least intriguing or at least kind of interesting, you're like, ooh, what's this? What's this? Where if it's like the side content's garbage, you're like, man, fuck that side quest. Like I just want to zoom right by it. So I'm glad that Baldur's Gate 3 is not doing that to you there.
Well, and they did a really good job of making you care about the other people in your party and like what's going on with them. And there's just so many options to choose from to be able to do those side quests and finish out those stories. It's really hard not to get hooked on any one of them.
For sure. Roger, let's move on to one of your other games. I only got one game here on my list, so we'll save that to the last one because Roger, you can talk to me about it as well. Spider-Man 2 here is on your list, and me and you went back and forth there for a while in the chat
Yes.
because I was basically calling out a whole bunch of negative shit in regards to the game, just from what I see online because I haven't played it. I've never played any of the Spider-Man games from Insomniac. But how's your playthrough been? Is it enjoyable? Like, what's going on? Any bugs?
Yeah, definitely. So I've shit on Starfield. I'm gonna shit on Spider-Man 2. Don't get me wrong, but this game doesn't deserve all the hate I think it's getting, and a lot of it does definitely feel spurred by the fact that Starfield has been hit by those negative reviews. Spider-Man, yeah, definitely should also get bad press, but also you should take in stride all the successes this game has done because there are so many parts of this game where I sit there and I go, "Wow, nobody else is doing this. They're not doing it right." So let's first start off about the main quest. So you were complaining about New York City and how, is it stale? Well, not to me. My biggest thing is I like that it's still in New York City because it's mostly trying to tie up the story for Miles Morales because it is Spider-Man 2, you're dealing with both Peter and Miles. You get to focus a lot on Miles' story, and it's very important for him, but also Peter isn't isn't really as much the main character as Miles is at times. The development that you see is Miles becoming Spider-Man. Peter eventually looking at him to potentially say, "You are Spider-Man, not me. You are the new Spider-Man." And so you can kind of see that development happening as Miles is coming into his own, and it feels really good. The story's great. Yeah, people complain, "Oh, there's so many cutscenes," but like they're well done. It helps build the story. It always feels good. Yeah, I play 30 minutes of combat, 30 minutes of cutscenes, in an hour long block. It's not bad if you're following those main story quest lines and even the side quests. For a moment, just talking about side quests, every one of the side objectives is part of a story. So it's not like, oh, just go capture this base. Oh, go beat these guys up. Like Spider-Man, the original game for the PS4, didn't do this well. It was always like, okay, the bad guys have a base on the skyscraper, and it's like the same base as the last three you did, and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. Please stop. And they're like, but we have two more. And you're like,
Who
why do
cares?
you have two more? But this one's like, okay, let's take for a moment. There are these camouflaged bases at the top of skyscrapers. Multiple suburbs will have 2 to 3 of them. And when you complete them, you actually get a base infiltration, and the base is completely different every time, and the build is 100% different. The side objectives in that base to like minimize the amount of enemies you have to fight may be similar, but they're not always the same. And it feels good. And when you finish a line of quests, there's a story at the end of it, whether it be like the Brotherhood, like the Cult of the Flame. They're these cultist lunatics that are trying to burn down New York City. Well, you literally go from, little fights to fights to fights between them, and it's always a part of a bigger story. You can just completely ignore those side quests, but if you do them, it's actually a whole comic book arc. It's like reading the comic book. Like, oh yeah, you're in the middle of like the big Spider-Man arc where Spider-Man's doing, fighting Venom. But in the middle of that arc, in a comic book, you'll come across maybe 2 or 3 books that are about something completely different because Spider-Man and superheroes can't be single focused, especially somebody who defends a town, a city, something. Every time they're doing something, something else comes up. I'm reading Superman right now, and the same thing just happens. You're like, the big bad is like the story behind Luthor, but like, in one of the issues, it just like derails, and now you're talking about Brainiac, and you're like, what the fuck? And it all ties together though. And the ending of like the Brotherhood of Flame, like the Cult of the Flame, is literally tying in to what could be the next game potentially. There's each one of the side missions is about somebody, something in that city. So it doesn't feel like I'm doing chores anymore. It feels like I'm actually doing a whole nother mini part of the game. A whole chapter in the game is just these side missions, and it feels canonical. So I
Okay.
think they do that really well, and I think the story is really well written, and I think I just how they tie in Venom and potentially Carnage and Scream, and they have all of these characters, and it feels good how they tie them together, the fights they're going through, how they tie it to the previous two games. Everything feels good about it, and you don't feel like you're wasting time doing some of these side quests. But if you don't want to do them, that's okay. The game may just be a shorter experience for you.
Okay. For sure. Yeah, I'm eager to see how it plays out for sure, and I'm maybe whenever I grab a PS5,
But
I'll play it.
now let's talk about the bad things though. The game does crash. I've had it crash twice now, which is sad. Why? Why is the game crashing? Why wasn't this figured out beforehand? Like, did somebody just not play on a regular PS5 and bug test this? At moments I've had where the camera will just off off a mile away, and you're like, well, I'm not moving anymore. Or like the one time I pulled a gem out of this crystal cluster, and I go to break it, and Spider-Man just goes, and the game stops. It's all running, volume, sound's still there, music's playing, the character's still doing his animation, but he's just holding the rock, and you can't break it anymore, and the game's soft locked, and you're like, cool.
In
See,
their defense, it's a pretty tough rock. I mean, it's
yeah, it was. Spider-Man was like, I'm
intense.
done. I can't do
Fucking
it.
intense.
But so I definitely think there are a lot of small bugs that do ruin the immersion. And for me, the game's not going to make it much past a low 80 or a low 8. Like it can't be a 9, but it is a very good game. The quality's there. Combat is smooth for the most part. And I think one of the biggest successes is fast travel in this game. I literally hit the map button, click on a spot on the map, and I'm there. Literally no loading screen. It is you fly in from your map. The map just transitions, pulls away, and you're flying in as Spider-Man, either with web wings or you're just literally webbing across the screen.
Yeah, we
Or
actually
you switch
Pretty dope.
characters
it was
half a
it, it
second.
was either last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Spider-Man 2
Yeah,
on the show, and we kind of like roasted Spider-Man 2 because like they were trying to glorify how fast the loading time is, or like fast traveling in Spider-Man 2, and it's actually the same speed as Forza Horizon takes, and it's just as fast as the Crew Motors Fest, and it's actually just as fast as a PS2 game. So it's like nothing that hasn't been done. It's not even as fast. It's not the fastest we've seen it, and it's not like a glorified feature. It's
I
something that
I
should be
mean it is
highlighted.
the fastest I've ever seen in a video game. It is the same speed as it. There is nothing faster than instant. Like
Well,
the
the thing,
second I click, I'm there.
right? But you gotta press and hold the button is the issue. Like you gotta press and hold, that bar goes up, loads. Like that is the loading screen. Like if it was instant, you should be able to press that button and it shoots you right into it. But you gotta hold
Yeah,
the
it's
button.
almost
Well, the
it's
problem
almost
is
like the
if you
loading
just press the
screen.
button, then you accidentally teleport to somewhere you might not want to go.
Yeah, it's almost like
The
the
idea is
loading
holding.
screen is hidden behind the
Yeah,
player interaction.
Yeah,
But still, if it feels that seamless
yeah, it's
and
really good.
it feels that
yeah,
instant, I mean, it's like a real feel for the temperature. If the temperature says it's 75, but the real feel is 63 degrees, it's fucking 63
3
degrees.
degrees
So
exactly.
if it feels instant and the only thing that they could possibly hide behind is that little bit of player interaction, that's about as instant as you get.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, but it's great. I'm glad it's as fast as it is, but it's like it's not the first in the industry. Like I said, Forza
No, it's
Horizon
not.
5 does
But
it.
the
The
thing is,
the
you
Crew
can't
Motorfest do it.
redefine it. But games now are still having that load time.
Right.
That's the problem. So like to have games still be doing that load screen, it's still refreshing to see instant. Like yeah, you can diss it, but at the same time, it's doing it where many aren't.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's just I don't want it to be glorified as PlayStation's doing this spectacular
No,
thing that
no,
no
no,
one
no.
else is
I'm not
doing.
Nah.
glorifying it, but I am saying that it's doing it where many people aren't. And like
And
if 5 games out of 1,000 are doing it,
Right.
that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about just the seamlessness of the interaction
Yeah.
with it. I think that could possibly be making it seem a lot nicer than it actually is, but that's still a
That too.
category on its own because
And
that
yeah,
seamlessness is there for the
I
player.
think that's a
Right, it's-
perfect thing to say there, Scobie, is like the fact that it feels that way, whereas other ones may be just as fast, but does it feel that way? And the other thing is, a lot of these other games, you have to fast travel to a specific location. That's not the case with this game. You point your cursor on the map and you're at that location.
Right.
It's it's not like, you're 2-3 blocks away. No, you are. I wanted to go here. You're here.
Fast travel to
I'd have to
State
find out
from
which game it
45th
was from the
Street.
PS2, but you could pick any point on
Yeah,
the map and go to it. It's not like it was the
but
like
I
this
guess I
defined
guess
ones.
you're following up here saying that Sony did it first then
Maybe. I mean, might yeah,
on the
probably
PS2. Yeah,
probably on the
yeah,
PS2.
on the
Yeah.
PS2. Yeah, so like they're holding up to that sort of standard that we hope for in a game, though.
Yeah, I think most games should move towards that. Like, I don't know why we have loading screens. There's no point
And
wasting resources on having tips on
and
the
I
loading
will
screen because you
follow
can't
up,
read them anyway.
and I will follow up and say Starfield does it well if you're space traveling. It's
Hmm.
nigh instant, and I think that to me was also something that caught my attention. And I said that in the review for Starfield. The fast travel to anywhere in space from anywhere in space is instant. Now, if you go to a planet or anything like that, then it'll take a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta get scanned and then go
Yeah.
in.
It has to load.
You got to temper those expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like if Spider-Man had like 16 different locations it can go to and it had to load a new city in, as opposed to just keeping New York loaded in at all times. That'd be the only big
Just
difference.
fast traveling to Titan, that might take a little bit.
But yeah, let's talk about one more game here on your list, Roger. Is City Skylines 2, because I know that was a game that we were kind of mutually excited for. It did get delayed for the console version, but it did come to the PC Game Pass. How's that experience been? Did you get a lot of time into City Skylines?
It's disappointing.
Oof.
That's
So the devs in a press release said that they targeted 30 frames for the optimal gameplay experience because they thought anything over 30 frames was a waste. So not only that, trying to play the game in 4K results in sub 20 frames even on 4090s.
and we've already established here that 60 is the floor.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And this game shouldn't be like that hard to get
I-
What?
at 60.
I loaded the game up and it was like, let me load your optimal settings. And I was like, let's go. And I was like, how am I only getting 5 frames? I'm like watching the mouse go like this as I'm pulling down, and the mouse is like,
That's painful.
Damn. Yeah, it's sad to see. It looks
Ouch.
like it's got a 6 out of 10 on Steam and a 6 out of 10 from IGN. So,
yeah.
yeah, was not a solid release there for
It ain't
Which
Paradox.
still
and
feels pretty. It still feels pretty generous.
Yeah.
That's
It
the same
honestly,
score I
like-
gave Avengers, Marvel Avengers. So,
Which is
Not saying
even
much.
more generous. Because I'm still convinced your scale only goes up to 8.
it starts at 6, goes up to 10. That's it. Nothing below a 6.
Yeah, it does make me really disappointed to see.
I don't know if I could finish a
see-
game if I gave it below a 6. Like, if it was that bad, I probably wouldn't be able to finish it.
Well, the thing is, all I did was change my resolution, and all of a sudden the game was completely playable. But I just felt like
It's a simple game
it-
that should be run, like it should be able to run on
Like,
max settings.
I feel like it took a step back from City Skylines, and like at that point, I'm like, why did you remake the game?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But let's round out our games played this week with my game with Liza P. Roger, we actually just talked about it over on Shoot to Win's Game Club Talk. We did like a Twitter space because that was our game of the month for October. And I know you beat the game already. I'm at the end of the game. I beat the Door Guardian or whatever, and I have like two or three more bosses to get to. But I am at the final part of the game.
You beat female Thor.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
bitch come
motherfucker
out
was
out of the
huge.
Sky lightning.
Oh no, I haven't fought her yet. I haven't fought that
Oh,
one yet.
okay.
The one it's just like a pure
Okay.
brute where you have to attack his right leg the entire time. You can't hit him with like
Easy
no
as fuck.
fire, no nothing. I had to learn his moveset. Once I figured it out, I was like, all right, cool, got it. I know exactly how to
I
hit it.
literally
Like-
walked up to him, and somebody was like, "This is the third hardest fight in the game," and I was like,
It could
why
be
did
if
I
you
beat
if
him?
you if you
I
don't
was-
know
yeah,
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're going to be there forever. Because they changed
I-
up
I
how
just-
you fight altogether. I usually use my arm with the flamethrower and like attacking like different parts, and you can't. You have to attack that one leg after he does like one move. The other moves just stay out the way.
I don't know. I just walked up to him and I did the same thing I did on every other boss that got me the win, and I was like, "Wow, why is this guy so easy? Like, what the fuck is this fight?"
Well, the thing is,
And
like,
they were
I try to
"Not
throw
the
throwables at him, and it does no damage. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is weird.
Gotta get you that Staples easy button.
I gave I gave my man cheat codes to the game, and he's like, I tried the cheat code, it didn't work.
Didn't
And I
work.
was
It
like,
said,
oh yeah, it doesn't work on that boss.
yeah, that's like the only boss in the entire game it doesn't work, and I was like, well, fuck it. We're gonna figure it out. So I just pulled out the two dragon swords, and because they're quick movement, like in and out, especially if you use the heavy, he like attacks and then bounces backwards. It was
Hmm.
just once I figured it out, like once the certain moves, I was like, yeah, I'm good. But yeah, man, just a quick rundown. I've thoroughly enjoyed the game. We talked, like I said, on the Shoot the Win Game Club talk. I gave it a 10 out of 10 on my scale already. Even though I haven't beaten it yet, I don't even need it. Like I've seen the ending already, so I already know how the rest of the game plays out from where I'm at, and it's just like, all right, this game is fucking like dope. Like I'm glad that this is where I picked up playing Souls games at,
Yeah,
because I couldn't have
it's
asked
a
for a better
great
Souls game.
spot. Oh, it's gorgeous. It is one of the best in the Souls like genre right now. It brings that Souls like, back to where we want to be moving forward. Like this sets a milestone in the Souls like genre. It says if you can't compete with this, don't get into the genre. You're just noise.
Right, and I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that it was linear. Like I don't know if I could have done an open world Souls like game. Like the game was already difficult and tough enough to deal with the straightforward path of what I was dealing with, having to die and then run back to the fucking point and go like just basically bypass all the enemies you already killed, just run by them again. Like you don't even have to kill them the second time. But like in an
Elden
open
Ring
world, I
is
couldn't do it.
yeah. Elden Ring is definitely a very special game in the Souls-like
Yeah,
series
and the
that
fact like
even
you
I
could
would
beat that
argue.
in any order that you want. I need structure. Like I need an order how I'm going to try and kill this. And that's why I really enjoyed
Man,
Liza P.
I
Like the
mean,
story was great, the game looked beautiful, the ease of access, like, and then learning the cheat codes of being able to like the throwables, and like I literally just ran that loop around the Red Lobster like over and over and over and
I was
over,
cheesing it,
get
just
just
cheesing it.
racking up
Yeah,
the fucking throwables. Had like, and then like
Yeah,
if you buy more than like five, it goes automatically into your storage. So it's like it
and
just
then it
everything just
automatically
worked.
pulls out of
Yeah,
yeah.
whenever you die or whatever,
It
it
just
automatically puts
ah,
some rate like it replenishes your
and that
inventory.
that is a Souls-like feature that has been in Dark Souls 1. It is as old as the game, the genre is. And like I have games that don't do that in the Souls-like genre, and you're just like, why?
Yeah,
Why?
just simple
where's my
mechanic,
shit? Where's my
simple
shit?
simple
You like walk
mechanic.
away from the fire and you're just like doing your little dance. You get two, 3 fights in. You're like, wait, why am I missing consumables? And the boss just goes, sorry, kid.
You're dead.
Sucks to suck, nerd. Get fucked. Stay fucked.
Yeah, but yeah,
Stay fucked.
overall, I was thoroughly pleased with Liza P. Roger, I do have a couple more days left of the month to still beat it,
You
and I might
you
be able
got
to pull it
three
off.
days, and you gotta beat the optional final
Yeah,
boss.
yeah, I
You
plan on doing
gotta
it.
beat the optional final boss.
Yeah, I
I
plan on
believe
doing
in
that
you.
as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so
29-year-old Vic might not have been able to pull it off, but I believe
30-year-old Vic can
30-year-old
do
Believe in
Vic.
30-year-old Vic.
it. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move on to the upcoming game releases because we do got a pretty stacked week this week. All right, Roger, if you want to go ahead and run through this long list that we got here.
Yeah, sure. So we got Resident Evil Village and Winter's Expansion coming to iOS on October 30th. We've got Jasant following that on the 31st. This is a Game Pass Day 1. It'll be on the PlayStation 5, Xbox X and S, and PC. This is a climbing simulation game. If you're into Uncharted, Tomb Raider, things like that, it's going to be those style of games, but a puzzle instead of an action game. Next up, we've got The Forest Cathedral. This is a PS5 game. It's been previously on the Xbox X and S and PC since March 14th of this year, but now is getting its PlayStation 5 release. We next have then on the list Alien Hominoid Invasion. I believe this game is the same people who made the Behemoth. I believe they made Castle Crashers, if I'm correct.
I think so.
Yes, so I believe it. Uh, uh, I must check. It is Battle Block Theater, Castle Crashers, yes, and Alien Hominoid. This is their new game, Alien Hominoid Invasion. This is a up to four-player co-op game. This comes out for Xbox X and S, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on the 1st of November. Following that, we have the new League of Legends story, Song of Nunu. This comes out for PS5, Xbox X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on the 1st as well. Following that, we've got Blasphemous 2. This is a PS4 and Xbox One game that will be releasing. It's already been on current gen, Switch and PC, but now it will be joining the previous generation on November 2nd for those of you who do not have a PS5, Xbox X and S, Switch, or a PC. We then have For the King 2. For the King 2 is a gauntlet style video game for 1 to 4 players. It's coming out on PC only. That is November 2nd. Following that, we've got Plate Up, a restaurant game coming out for PlayStation 5, Xbox X and S, Switch on November 2nd. I believe this game may already be out on PC as of August 4th last year. So that's 2022. So this game is over a year old, is now getting its Switch release. Or not Switch release, their console release. So 5, XX, X and S, and Switch. Then we've got Power Wash Simulator finally joining the VR Quest store. So if you want to be able to play this on your Quest without a computer, you may now do so. And then the game that is going to destroy part of this week is RoboCop Rogue City, joining us on PS5, Xbox X and S, Switch, and PC on the 2nd. This game has been talked about for a little bit now. It is a single-player RoboCop game where you are pretty much playing the detective adventure where you go around solving crimes and shooting people, shooting bad guys, solving crimes. Following that, we have Star Ocean, the second story R, which is also going to be joining RoboCop that day on the PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. That will not be coming to Xbox. And then we have the Smurfs 2, the video game, Prisoners of the Green Stone, coming to PS5, Xbox X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on November 2nd. And then we've got The Talos Principle 2. The Talos Principle, I believe, is this the game by chance that was a mod for something? The original one was a mod.
I'm not sure if this was the original one, but it gives it's given the weird, like when you look at like a release date.txt, proposal.eml, it reminds me of something, but I don't know if it was an actual.
Yeah. So, but this is going to be the sequel to the original Talos Principle, which is a first-person puzzle game in the traditional philosophical science fiction. So it's all about, philosophy while also being a science fiction game, as you are an android working your way through puzzles. It is written by the creator of Faster Than Light and The Swapper, as well as The Sea Will Claim Everything. So this is a game developed by Crow Team, who has made multiple games, including Serious Sam 4, Top Unity of Command 2, and the Talos. That will be coming out though for next gen only, so that'll be PS5, Xbox X and S, and PC. It will not be hitting the Switch. Following that, we have the meme of the week called Thirsty Suitors. This is a game that is made by or published by Annapurna. It is coming to PS5, Xbox X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is made by Outer Loop Games, and it is about, I believe, two Indian characters sort of dealing with their previous romantic entanglements, but in a JRPG style of combat similar to that of Final Fantasy, while also having mini games and stuff like Tony Hawk in there. We've got a cooking simulator game, a making your mom happy, because that's what everyone in their high school college life wants to do, is get their parents off their back. But the
And since
game is
this
about.
is,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, since this is about entanglements, the JRPG actually for this one time only stands for Jada role playing game, not Japanese. So just wanted to throw that out there so people weren't disappointed. You have the option to shave your head right in the beginning.
Right in the beginning. Following that, we have Vampire the Masquerade getting a new, I believe it is a new installment called Justice. So it is Vampire the Masquerade Justice, and that'll be releasing for PlayStation VR 2 as well as the Quest. That comes out on the 2nd as well. And then the only game coming out on the 3rd, standing alone, is WarioWare Move It, the new Switch game. So, what a big week we've got here, guys. It's almost like it's about 20 games coming out this week, and these are just the ones that we mentioned.
Right. Yeah, this seems like a pretty solid week. We were talking about before the show, and I'm actually looking forward to just on. Let me get some gameplay of it up here on screen just while we talk over it. This is a game that was revealed at one of the Xbox showcases, and we were like, oh, this looks pretty cool. Just with those smaller indie games, man, like with the puzzles, they've been pretty big hitters lately. Like you just recently beat Cocoon, and I'm looking forward to playing that soon, and that
Yeah.
was a good one. And I think that we might have another good one here on our hands, especially coming from Annapurna, as well. Like, when do they ever fail? Or Don't Nod, sorry, which is another great studio as well. I mean, Annapurna's been
I was
putting
like,
out
damn,
tons of
my
games.
man's really here for this thirsty suitors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I got a trailer up for that too because I know Roger might be excited for Thirsty Suitors there, but
Honestly, it just looks so goofy that I'm in.
yeah,
Like it kind of almost reminds me of the sort of beyond reality that like PS like that not PS that Persona 5 had.
hmm
Like
yeah,
that
I got
that
some
to me
gameplay
is a
coming up. I have it on screen here for the Thirsty Suitors as we speak here. But yeah, this has clear art style from like a lot of the Annapurna games
Hmm.
lately. It looks like they take things from like Road 96, Mile Zero, and then they also did like regular Road 96, and then they did um, what was the other games? There was a bunch of other ones, but yeah, they pulled bits and pieces from there. Looks goofy. I actually might check it out. Like Annapurna doesn't really miss that often, so I mean, this game looks like you said it's the meme of the week, but it almost seems like a fun game to check out.
Ooh,
thirst
Sergio, love
level
him.
high.
Thirst
It's
level
a thirst
high.
level.
Sergio ain't fucking around. He thirsty.
He
No, it does.
thirsty.
It definitely does. It just looks goofy, but it looks like the fun goofy where you're like everything's just gonna be funny and like you want to play like just to continue the funny shit that you're gonna see, like
And
the
he's
off the wall
thirsty for
stuff.
3 turns, boys.
Ooh, hey, that's a 3-turn thirst. That can win you a
That'll set
game.
you back.
That can win you a game, man.
And then Roger, the other gameplay I'm throwing up here on screen is for WarioWare. I know that you're looking forward to this game coming out later this
Honestly,
week.
this just it. I love WarioWare. It's fun and exciting to do, but to have a party game with the Joy Cons, I'm just kind of excited for it.
Yeah, it seems pretty fucking dope. I've actually never, like I said, I've never played a WarioWare game. It looks pretty interesting. But I think
That's
honestly,
Animal Crossing now.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Whoa, wait, wait, whoa, whoa,
Wait,
whoa.
wait, wait.
there's so many different games in this game. Yeah, looks pretty good there. But I think the heavy hitter this week gotta be RoboCop. And here's some gameplay in regards to that. And this game visually looks really good. Um, but will it play good? That's going to be the big question. Is the story going to be well
Yeah.
written? That's going to be the big question. Apparently, like it basically just retells the story from the original like movies and stuff. Because a lot of the characters that are from those movies, a lot of them have like their one-to-one like appearance in the game as well, and they look good. Like the character models look pretty fucking detailed when it comes to like their resemblance to their counterparts of the real world. Um, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a pretty solid one there. You guys planning to pick up RoboCop? Is that on the list for you guys?
I mean, I don't want to buy RoboCop when I still have to buy Alan Wake like from last week because
Yeah,
I'm still working on a game from the week before. So like I'm falling behind here, guys.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
October
full.
was insane.
Oh, I know. And October was just proof that, sometimes like quantity is its own quality just because there's been so many things. But the RoboCop, when it comes to RoboCop, the only thing better than like really watching like one of the original RoboCop movies is like being able to play it. So maybe this is really gonna be that little scratch for that itch that a lot of people like. Um, you know, RoboCop has had that kind of niche fandom for a really long time, and hopefully they can capitalize on that, do good by the story, and hopefully it plays well. That seems to be the biggest theme for a lot of things that we've been talking about over the past year is things coming out and they just end up not playing well. So hopefully for RoboCop, but I can't wait to see what Power Wash Simulator is going to do for the Quest.
Honestly, I like people have been playing it with the PC. I'm just like, like, is the Quest store even a thing anymore? Like, like, people actually use the Quest store?
It
I
exists.
mean, it just gets you in there. You know, you really feel like you're power washing.
Grind
Once they add
coffee.
some more feedback, I think they'll really have it there.
Hmm.
Just some quick comments though for RoboCop. It's crazy to think like the original RoboCop came out in 1987, wasn't even born yet. RoboCop 2 came out in 1990, and then RoboCop 3 came out in 93, the year that me and Roger were born. And it's like, man, like there's going to be a lot of people that have no idea what RoboCop is. Like it's obviously it's a cult classic and whatnot, but like this could be a way to revive the franchise. Like this could be one of those like we're gonna test the waters. Is RoboCop like a franchise that we should make a new movie in? Let's test it out with a video game, and it could take off from there. On top of that, though, real quick, for the developer behind RoboCop Rogue City, the game that's coming out is being created by Teon, and they're like recent, like other games that they've made. They made like Terminator Resistance, and they also did a Rambo the video game. So it's like they do like these one-offs of like different movies. So it's like they're not usually really big successful games. They're usually just like middle middle of the range. I mean, Rambo was god awful in 2014. Got a 3 out of 10 on most places. And let's see what Terminator Resistance got. For some reason, I don't really remember that one, and it's actually not really loading here. So, yeah, 9 out of 10 on Steam, 57 on OpenCritic, and 4.3 out of 5 on GOG. So, I mean, those ratings are kind of a little bit all over the place when it comes to Terminator Resistance. So, we not really sure what we're going to get from these guys for with RoboCop, the game. So, we'll see how that goes. But if you guys have any no more comments on the upcoming game releases, we'll go ahead and move on to our next section. It is not industry news this week because there was zero news for the industry news. So we're going to slide right on over to our gaming news. All right, guys. So I'm gonna kick it off here with the Xbox as we do every week. They did have some updates in regards to just some news kind of stuff. So first off, interesting one that came across me was Xbox is raising the prices of the Xbox Series S in Brazil specifically to 35.99 R. I don't know like their currency, and it was listed as like the R and then the dollar sign next to it. So whatever Brazil's dollar is, the currency, which is apparently the same price as the PS5 digital edition, and that's kind of like concerning because like the PS5 digital edition is like basically a Series X, like quality wise, like the PS5. There is no difference between the digital and disc version of it, so that one's interesting there. I don't know why they would raise the price there specifically, out of all places, but we'll see how
To
that
demo
goes.
it.
Yeah,
To demo it, I guess.
yeah, not sure. It's weird. It's really interesting. Some good news here is Hi-Fi Rush, Starfield, and Forza Motorsport have all been nominated for Game of the Year at the Golden Joystick Awards of 2023, and I was like, man, that's big time there. Especially with Forza Motorsport. I mean, that was like a game they released this month. It's been fun. It's just it's going to be a games of service, so this game's going to be around for a while. Hi-Fi Rush is a little bit smaller of a game, so I was also surprised to see it there. But it was a really, really good game, and obviously we know the scale of Starfield. I think Starfield should be in everybody's Game of the Year talks. I know it's not going to win, but what it's going to do for gaming, it's going to be worth that. And then last up, the only industry news that we really had, I threw it here in the Xbox news, was Microsoft is reorganizing its Xbox and marketing teams to prepare for an AI and gaming future. So I'm just going to bring up the article that kind of talks about it, just so I can bring up the reorganization. So Phil Spencer is now the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, and they restructured it where Matt Booty is going to be the president of game content and studios both for Xbox and Bethesda. And then Sarah Bond is now the official president of Xbox Gaming, so she'll oversee like a lot of the hardware stuff and a lot of like making sure all the games are coming together and working like that. We got Dave McCarthy as the COO, Jarrett West is the CMO. Then Amy Silverman is now the chief counter sales officer. Bobby Kotick is still the CEO of Activision Blizzard. He's there, obviously, we already know until I think like March of 2024, and then he's gone. And then we got Jocelyn Main as the chief of staff. And then on the other side, we got Cynthia Perlee, the corporate vice president of human resources. Carrie Perez, general manager of communications. Linda Norman is the corporate vice president, and Tim Stewart is another corporate vice president of finance. So yeah, definitely a big time shakeup in the Xbox organization, but kind of seen it coming, especially with Activision Blizzard coming into the fold. They have a lot of good people in the organization now, but making sure they're just in the right place. One big highlight I want to talk about is Sarah Bond becoming the president of Xbox Gaming, and I think that's just setting up for her to take over for Phil when Phil does decide to retire, whether it's next year or 10 years, whenever he goes, guys, I had enough, and he's ready to move on. She will be the next head, like the face of Xbox.
Yeah, the heir apparent,
Yeah,
as it were.
yeah, and she's done a lot. Like, she does a lot of the communication and the talks with like a lot of these like Japanese studios. So whether it's been Square Enix or Sega and stuff like that, getting those Yakuza franchises and getting Square Enix back, she's been one of the main people dealing with a lot of those communications with those developers. So thanks to her because we've been all of the Yakuza games are now on Game Pass, which is crazy. And now we're going to start seeing a lot of the Square Enix games, whether it's Final Fantasy and all those, going to be coming to Xbox. Whether they come to Game Pass, that might happen down the road. But just seeing them on the platform now, that's big time there. But last but not least, here is update. BlizzCon has been announced, and it is on November. It's already been announced, but it's for November 3rd. Big highlight here. There's an opening ceremony at the beginning there and it's going to be over 2 hours long, where we're actually going to see new reveals from Blizzard games. So that's big time news, especially for Xbox, because these are going to be new Xbox
Yeah.
Xbox first party games. So definitely a lot to look forward there. But they did have an event over the past week. We did get to see an Xbox partner preview program. It was like a showcase of like third party games. And with this one, they kind of like went through, and we got to see like a lot of updates. We actually got to see some like first gameplay from Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, and looks beautiful. Roger, I know you guys were talking about it over in the Discord, the Lunacy Arts one, and even Dom was like, "Man, if there's a game that I wish I could play again for the first time,
Not knowing.
not knowing, and then like if playing it with these graphics, this would be one of the games because it looks really fucking good." And then we also got to see Alan Wake 2 launch trailer and like walk through introducing a new terrifying enemy, and apparently it's going to be like really creepy. I didn't actually check out that trailer yet. We got
I
to
don't
see
want to spoil the game.
right. I'm trying to like not watch a bunch of Alan Wake 2 stuff so I can like keep my distance. Then they showed some gameplay for Saga, the new character that you play as well. Interesting one here is that they actually really broke down and showed a lot of gameplay here for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And I was like, man, this is really interesting. Like, there is a lot to do in this game. Like, it has like the
I
full
mean, it's a
fledged.
Yakuza
I know
game.
it is, I know. But it's like, but they like built like another game in the game. Like, I know they usually do that, but like, you basically can manage your own island resort. It almost
Yeah.
reminded me like City Skylines or like Animal
Well,
Crossing,
in
and it's like,
Yakuza 3, you own your own real estate company and you have to go around acquiring real estate and then redeveloping it.
yeah, that's fucking dope.
In Like a Dragon Ishin, you have your own house and your own farm you have to maintain. Like it's
You
Yakuza's
gotta
always
keep you
like
honest. They gotta
they're
keep you honest.
and then like in Yakuza the original game, like you had your own, what are they? Model cars on the little tracks. I forget what they're called. Like but you had those little model cars and you would have to build your own car and you had to race
You talking
and
about Hot
win
Wheels?
the no, I'm talking like the little joysticks that you press the
You mean the
control
electrical
Oh
ones? The
yeah,
electrical ones where
yeah.
you-
Jeez.
Oh,
and you would swap out like the wheels,
Yeah.
your engine
What?
on it, the battery pack, and like
I
you
forgot
had to
about
like,
those.
and then you were joining like the professional mini car circuit. Like that's the game in the game.
Yeah, that's great. And then they showcase like you can get to this island by riding a dolphin, Don Doko, and it's been great. Like that whole gameplay. Like I actually did watch this part of the trailer, and I was like, this game just looks goofy as fuck. Like I don't.
I mean, like Yakuza's always been that way. Like if you played the games, you like the moment when you end up in a sex club that's all about grown men running around in diapers being treated like babies. And then you're like, yeah, this isn't the thing for me, and they want to kick your ass. You're like, I don't know if this game takes itself seriously anymore.
Not at all. I don't think it ever did. Yeah, so I might have to give the Like a Dragon a go for sure. But next up, we did get our first look at Ark Survival Ascended, which is like a remake or like a remaster of the OG Ark because they basically remade the game but in
Dumpsters.
Unreal Engine 5, and we got our first real look at this because Ark obviously we got Ark 2
Yeah.
right around the corner as well. So this is just building up that hype. I played Ark for like an hour one time and it was like, okay, this is cool, but like there's just so much. It's just another survival game and it's just like I can't play survival games over and over. Just not me.
Hmm.
But we did get a PC Game Pass release date and a gameplay trailer for the game Manor Lords. Roger, I'm not sure if you're looking forward to this, but this is an upcoming historical city building game. And this it already will be released a game preview for Windows and PC Game Pass on April 26th next year, and arriving to the Xbox consoles at a later date. But did you check out this trailer? Are you excited for this kind of game?
I like this is a game that I would play the shit out of. If it's on Game Pass day one, it's a game that I definitely would play. Like, this is my shit. This is my cup of tea. Like,
Maybe it does
Yeah,
better than City Skylines 2 did.
agree. I agree with him.
and
One
and
hundred
like
percent.
the thing is, like, it's not just a city builder though. It's organic city building, resource management, medieval warfare, handcrafted, building your own town, city, then manor, and like you also have to defend it. Like
You
that's
have
the
a
whole
real
thing.
actual combat.
And it's not like,
Like
your typical strategy game where you're like, oh, new map, new map, new map, and you're go. No, you're actually defending the map you've been on for hours or days of gameplay.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. So I'm pretty sure you're probably looking forward to that then in April 26th and
Always,
mark it on your calendar. Um,
always.
and then RoboCop is back. It did get a new story and gameplay trailer. Trying not to spoil that for myself, so I didn't want to watch that one. One that I did want to check out because I wanted to learn a little bit more about was Still Wakes the Deep. It's like this new narrative horror game from the developer Esther, um, the Chinese Room, and this shit looked creepy as fuck. And it's just like this dude was crawling through these
You're
pipes on
abandoned,
on an oil
an
rig by herself,
abandoned oil rig.
and he was
Oh,
climbing through these pipes, right, and all
oh.
you hear like these things like running around and like making some weird ass
Ting ting
noises,
ting ting ting.
fucking
and they're like
creepy.
making these like alien type noises. You're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what the fuck?
Fucking creepy.
And
No
like
way.
the end of the trailer, like he hops in like the
Ugh.
elevator from the like the open hatch, and he hopped in, and like somebody closes it on him. You're like, what the fuck?
Who?
And
Who was
like
that?
it
Who
was
the
like
fuck?
it was like the end of the trailer, and I was like, oh man, like this game's gonna be fucking great. Looking forward to that. And I think that's coming to
Uh,
Game Pass as well, day one, whenever that comes out. I think sometime next year. But next up, they did showcase another gameplay trailer for Dungeons of Hinterberg. This is more of like an action adventure social sim game, and it's set to come out sometime next year. No official release date on that. But Roger, is this a game that's up your alley, or what about you, Scott? Is this kind of your kind of game at all?
I'm still looking forward to Manor Lords, honestly.
Yeah,
Dude just showed him his new cup of tea.
No,
yeah.
I saw,
There
I
you go.
saw, I saw that earlier, and I was like, man, I really hope we get to talk about that. And then I was like, we finally get to talk about it. Yeah. And I was like, I got blinders on, honestly. But Dungeons of Hinterberg, I have to look a little bit more into it when I actually want to like see kind of how I want to feel about that game.
Mhm.
I really don't have an opinion too much on it right now
Yeah,
at
for
this
sure.
time.
You got a little bit of
Just 'cause
time.
what yeah, I got plenty of time. I mean,
Yeah.
at least 2 or 3 days.
And next game up here on the list was Spirit of the North 2. This is where you see like a fox and a raven teaming up to restore lost guardians and find their way home. This is from the IGN article, and this game looks really cool actually. Because I just that whole like story element of like a fox and a raven teaming up to like take on their challenges and whatnot. This game sounds good. It looks good. I actually watched this trailer because I was curious because I never played the first one, so I didn't know like anything about it. Roger, is this a game that you played before? If so, are you looking forward to the sequel?
I haven't. Jordan did.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, actually, it's one of the games that's over on our pile in front of the PS5.
Was it a PS5 game that you guys played, or did you play it on the Switch? I'm not sure if it was on
Played it
there.
on the PS5.
Okay. And was it worth playing? That she would say.
I
I'm not
don't
sure if
think
she's still in
she's
the chat or
beaten
not.
it yet, but I believe she did enjoy it.
Okay. And next up here on our list was The Finals. This is like a game show first person shooter, free to play, team based competitive shooter. Like there's a lot going on here. It did get an open beta and a new gameplay trailer. The
So what you're
open
saying is live service.
Yeah, another live service game basically. The open beta went live on October 26th. I know a couple guys over at Shoot to Win were playing it, and they were like, "Man, this is a lot of fun. It's a different take on it." It actually had a ton of players playing during the open beta. I think it had over 100,000 at one time playing. There was actually at a point where the servers couldn't hold enough people because they weren't planning that many people to even play it, and they were like, "Holy fuck," because it was something
and
different.
like and the thing is, this is made by the same people who are making Arc Raiders, which we still haven't seen because it got pushed back.
Right, because of this game, apparently. They wanted to move
Yep.
this game up in front of Arc Raiders.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the real deal because this has like that full like destruction, like you can basically like topple buildings and floors and shit like the old Battlefield games, and it's just like this is it. And like the fact that it has like a tie-in to like a game show, like what is going on here? I might want to check it out whenever it comes out because I'm not
And
sure
when
if
you
the open
kill
beta
people,
still.
they explode into coins. So
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't take itself serious at all. At all.
It's basically just squad games.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then last up here on the list was Icaro Will Not Die. They described this as a fast-paced game with roguelike elements from Future Lab and Thunderful. Thunderful is a pretty good developer that I'm familiar with, but I'm not sure if this is a game I would check out. But does this game interest either one of you guys?
I haven't really
Meh.
seen anything about it till we just talk about it today. Like this game doesn't catch my eye. It almost reminds me of, was it Mirror's Edge, the parkour game?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted that's on my list to play is the Mirror's Edge games because I never played them, but I know that
It was okay.
they're high regarded. So yeah. So overall, I thought this was a it was interesting to see that like because people were saying like Xbox doesn't have a bunch of showcases at all. They like do like one a year, and so far they've done like 6 or 7 this year, and they've just been meaningful. Whether they were highlighting their first party games, and now this time doing some highlighting some third party games, and this time, and I'm like, man, they're doing great, and they're not done because they're going to be at all the rest of these game awards at the end of the year here. So awesome to see there. But let's talk about some of their games real quick. They had some updates. First off, Forza Motorsport, it beat the series' previous day one player count record by 300% or 4 times. And to put it in more perspective, the previous record was held by Forza Motorsport 3, and it only had 25,000 people for first day, like day one. So it had about 100,000 people playing this game on day one. And I was one of them. I downloaded it. I was playing it day one. So that's awesome to see. It's a really fun game, honestly. And this shit is like real life racing. You cannot take a turn at 70. It's just not going to happen. Forza Horizon, maybe. Forza Motorsport, not happening. But definitely check it out. But speaking about Forza Horizon 5, though, it has officially surpassed 34 million players. That is a lot of fucking players. And this game deserves every praise. There needs to be more people playing this game. This game is wonderful, and I'm looking forward to the next iteration of this franchise, which we could get within a year or two. And last but not least, Starfield officially surpassed 11 million players. And Roger, one of the highlights that we were like that we pointed out we wanted to highlight was the fact that nearly half of the hours played out of the 11 million players were played on PC. So we just goes to show how big the PC market is when it comes to gaming.
How instrumental it is to, if you're going to build a subscription service for gaming, you need to consider the PC market. Every second, like this is why Sony is losing. Every second they ignore the PC market is a second they're losing a sale. Like it's just literal dollar bills walking out the door.
Right.
At that point, it's the PC market is your foundation market
Yeah.
going forward. You have to look at PC first, and then you have your additions like your consoles and whichever
cloud,
there.
yeah.
But PC
You have
has
so
become,
many people you can reach with just PC.
and
It's a
yeah,
lot
it
harder
really
to develop for, yes, but it's worth it.
But when you do things like Starfield did, when you work with AMD specifically for a bit, and you work with specific manufacturers for the graphics cards and things like that, you really get that foundational building that you can capitalize on after the fact with, well, at the same time, but technically after the fact, with your console players, because PC is what's going to drive your market, especially for a company like Bethesda.
Yeah. and especially like a game from Starfield. I mean, Starfield is going to be huge when mod support is like big time. Like it's out now for the PC and it's coming to Xbox later, but mod support is what's going to be carrying Starfield into the next ten
Oh yeah,
years easily.
Absolutely,
and
especially considering we can fix everything in the first like 2 days. It's all
like
their bullshit.
you said it well earlier, and I think your rebuttal now, where you just said about mod support, came from our discussion where you were like, "Well, look at Skyrim," and I was like, "Yeah, Skyrim's on 11 different, was on 11 different generations here at this point." I jested, but like, the only thing that carries that game for Skyrim is mods. Like, if there wasn't a mod community, the game would have fallen into obscurity.
Mhm.
It'd be like Oblivion or Morrowind, that like they were good games, but they had their moment. Skyrim still has its moment. People still go to it and
And
say,
people
"I
made
wonder if I have all
Morrowind and
my mods
Oblivion in Skyrim.
inside." Yeah, so like
Yes,
that's the
that's
thing.
that's
Like,
that's two major projects. Is Morrowind and Oblivion in the Skyrim engine. There's the huge
and Daggerfall, I
projects.
think, got added too.
Daggerfall, yeah. Like they're working on bringing that stuff because of the modding community, because of PC players.
Right.
Yep.
And like we talked
Like,
about it even before Starfield came out as like the possibilities of Starfield. What if someone just makes the Star Wars galaxy within Starfield? That's gonna go bonkers in for sales. Like that's gonna
Hmm.
make people want to download Starfield to experience Star
Oh
Wars
yeah,
because how large Star Wars is.
what if
and it's
what if
and
they
it's
revamp
literally.
your what if they revamp your space combat? Now it's more like squadrons, more like
Yeah.
road squadrons.
And that game
People are
was
gonna love
fucking
that
great.
shit. That's what I'm saying. Like the mod community, the PC community is what makes that happen.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And then let's round out our Xbox news with some multimedia news because they do got a TV show that is coming out and got its official release date. The Fallout TV show from Amazon is coming out on April 12th, 2024. Hopefully, this turns out to be a good one. Please don't fuck up like they did with Halo. Just please. Please, please,
And the crowd goes mild.
please.
The
I don't know if
crowd goes.
I don't really know if I trust Amazon to do anything
I mean,
that I care about as far
They
as
did the
lore and
Invincible cartoon.
Yeah, and they do a
which
lot of
was
Tom
great.
Clancy stuff too, which it turns out really well usually.
Like, Amazon definitely is hit or miss, more often miss, but like
I feel like when they
it's
have like
just
big IPs, they usually do well. But if it's like original content, they're probably like,
No, absolutely. If you take out Lord of the Rings completely out of the discussion, they have been fucking awesome. I agree with you, Vic. If you completely delete Lord of the Rings, they have
all
been
I'm saying
10
is
out of
if they
10.
don't Paramount Plus it, we're good.
yeah, please.
That's fair.
But
The Paramount Plus experience.
Roger, let's go ahead and move on and talk about PlayStation here now.
All right, so let's start with the news from PlayStation. PlayStation is getting hit hard with layoffs. So the Visual Arts Service Group has been hit with massive layoffs, including 15 to 20% of Dreams and Little Big Planets developer Media Molecule. They've got people like Connie Booth, the head of production, is deciding that 34 years, she's done. Like, they're losing a lot of talent and they're hemorrhaging, it feels like. But then again, Microsoft also does these layoffs all the time.
Hmm.
So maybe it's just their normal layoffs and grow.
And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if hit with a layoff is the correct terminology there, because layoffs just don't come like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
spring and fall and winter. Layoffs come because people like in higher areas don't want
Want more
to
money.
give up their money, or they want
Yeah,
more money at
yeah.
the expense of studios like Media Molecule and people like Connie Booth.
Yeah, it's rough to see. There was also a quick update, real quick, Roger, before you move on to the next point that I didn't add here. That PlayStation apparently is rethinking its games of service plan, and they're starting to realize that might not be the way to go. Maybe have like one or
No,
two,
what?
but not have these massive like all these different
Yes.
games of service. I'm like,
You're
no
you're
fucking shit.
competing against
What
yourself.
this is
That's
this
the
is this is
craziest thing.
unheard of news, unheard of. Nobody could have seen this coming. Honestly, nobody.
Shocked, I say.
Absolutely not that shocked. Well, I'm not that shocked.
But last bit of news here: the PS5 Slim optional disk drive will need an internet connection for first-time use. So you'll have to have internet on the console for that one time for it to do its hardware sync, so that they register with each other. Which kind of sucks that you need internet access to do that.
Right. When this first broke out, I dropped it and I was like, "What the fuck? Why would you need it?" And then I dropped another article in there and it explains it like apparently there was like some law that was pushed out that mandates them to have to connect it to there's like a piracy thing in there where like it requires like a first day update where it does register the device to that so to make sure you're not pirating like anything like if you pirate like the disk drive and you pair it to like a normal one or vice versa it'll like flag it and whatnot. Hey, what's up, Subi Flows? Appreciate you, Mike. Um,
Continue to.
um, but yeah, so it's pretty crazy. But at first, like I was like, man, what the fuck? But then that second article kind of explained it. Like it wasn't PlayStation's choice. It was kind of like the law's choice. Like you have to do this. So I was like,
Well,
okay, should be fair.
it also makes sense in just the pure hardware standpoint, where if you release a PlayStation with specific drivers for that disc reader, that disc drive, things could be wrong. Things need updated. Things need drivers need updated all the time.
Right,
And by the time somebody actually plugs that in, there could be 4 or 5 new iterations of the driver required to make it run optimally.
right,
So that's definitely an aspect you have to take in there. Although I think this is a really, it's not a weird way to do it, but like, damn, you just kind of need it for the law and for the updates, honestly.
right.
So unfortunate to anybody who relies solely on disk because they don't have internet. Because, I mean, you can't hear me now because you don't have internet. But if you do see this in your perusings across the internet at some point, you're kind of fucked right now. So,
Pretty much.
Yeah, so let's continue on to another issue. Let's talk about Spider-Man 2 a little bit here and how bad of a launch we have had and the things that we've kind of been seeing from it. So, funny, not so funny. Players are being turned into cubes as one of the best glitches so far we've seen is Spider-Man literally just turns into a cube and you have a cube about the size of, I don't know, your foot swinging from a rope, swinging from your web as you go through the city, fighting crime as a cube. Spider Cube? Spider Cube does whatever Spider-Man does.
honestly, it's got to be one of the funnier glitches I've seen in
Yeah.
a while. It's hilarious, especially on the focal point of your game.
Yeah.
Like the one character that's not supposed to have that shit happen. Like I don't understand if it's like NPCs or people on the street, anything like that. You're just swinging down. You just pass a bunch of like pixel cubes. But to Spider-Man, there it is.
Yeah, I got it up here on
It's so
screen.
good.
Spider Cube. Spider Cube.
All I know is it's
There
great.
it
I don't know if
is.
this one shows you like any
Oh, look at the
combat.
wing.
Cube
Oh,
with
the wings are offset. Oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah, here's some combat. It's
That's
great. The
amazing.
cube is just going around like fucking people up. Like, wait a minute, what is going on here?
My favorite part
Yeah,
about Spider-Man. My favorite part about Spider-Man 2 is when he said it's Cuban time and then he cubed all over those people.
It's yeah, like it was one of the funnier glitches I think we've seen so far. And it's not game breaking, which is nice, but it's also one of the silliest things we've seen.
Yeah,
And luckily though, Insomniac Games is going to fix a lot of their issues, and one of them being that Miles Morales' flag in his house was wrong, and they promised to fix it. Whether that's been done as of this point or not, I'm unaware. But it's one of those things that I didn't even notice, but
yeah.
I was like, oh,
The
well,
internet didn't let
that's-
that go.
yeah, and they
They,
should.
they're not
because
gonna.
that's-
Yeah,
they
that's
should.
offensive.
Yeah, they put the Cuban flag in there, and it's like you completely
Yeah.
chose the wrong
like-
flag there, buddy.
Well, it was probably a nod. It was probably a very off-key nod to being a cube. And they're like, well, Spider-Man's Cuban, so here's the Cuban flag.
Yeah, I see the
Cuban
tie.
time.
It's Cuban time.
Cuban
It's Cuban time. But I did see there was a petition for players to like they actually signed it to keep the cube glitch in the game, which
They
I
just
mean,
turn
honestly,
it. They should just make it an ability or like a skin that you can put on.
It's
With,
just-
they have 78 suits, right? And one of the suits
yeah,
should
it's
be a
78
cube.
suits. Make a 79th, and it's just a cube, man. Spider cube. That's it.
Make
Keep it
canon.
white too. Don't even give it the red and
Yeah,
blue
Yeah.
like color scheme. Just straight up cube, just white cube.
No, I want
That's it.
purple and black like the stand-in in any modeling software. Just the PNG transparency
Yeah.
cube. That's the skin I
Or
need.
or now million dollar idea if you're paying attention. Rubik's cube. Just Rubik's cube it.
It's just Rubik's
Just an
Cube.
Yeah.
unsolved Rubik's cube. There it is.
Well, you can do that jump off the building, and you can make him play with the Rubik's cube, which is a nod to the Into the Spider Verse movies.
Honestly, there's a lot of good nods in the game about stuff. At one moment, you're literally stopping a train steamrolling through town, and one of the characters looks at him and goes, "You've stopped a train before, right?" And he goes, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like, do I
Or
wanna
like
do
the
it
meme,
again?
like you can walk
No.
up and like point at the other Spider-Man or whatever.
Yes.
That's wearing like the costume of
Well,
him.
and it's fun. You'll be going fighting crime, and other people will just show up. And after you're done with the crime fight, like the one time I walked up, and they go to like high five, and one of them goes to do a fist bump. So then the other one goes to do like a high five, and the other one's like fist bumping, and then they're both like shake
Shit.
hands, high five, and they're like, yeah.
Fuck it.
Ah!
All right. Lastly, though, one of the cool things is we've got to see some more information about characters we may not have known about. Some characters that were not in the game, Rhino, for example, actually turns out that maybe Rhino was killed in the game, and we just didn't get to see it because players found an out of bounds area that had a Craven trophy room where one of them is Rhino. His head is literally mounted on the wall.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I actually seen the video that showcased this, and it was like what? Why was this not included in the game or something?
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
DLC areas.
It probably is
for
like
later
DLC.
on.
It's probably like it should have been in the game, but like they're selling it separately. Yeah, it'd be
Maybe.
a
I can see
$15 DLC. Just look at his trophy room.
R.I.P. to
Honestly-
Rhino though.
Honestly,
Yeah,
that
no
was the
chance.
biggest thing I didn't care about the previous Spider-Man game was the DLC. They just felt not great.
Yeah,
Just
I
like
mean,
very disingenuous. Just
I
like kind of
told
just like, yeah,
you-
here's more shit. Shut up.
Yeah, I told
Yeah.
you that Miles Morales was basically a DLC for that game, and I still
It-
feel
it
like
felt like it,
Spider-Man
yeah.
2 almost feels like a glorified DLC because it's not that long of a game.
I gotta say, completely against that one. The Miles Morales, I agree. It did feel disingenuous, whereas like at least the Spider-Man 1 DLC felt a little more helpful because it did tie the first game to the second game because like it explains why Mary Jane's a fucking badass in the second game, running around and just like tasering people and
Yeah,
stuff.
apparently
and
people were
beating
having
dudes'
issues
faces.
with that. They're like, how can she kill people faster than Spider-Man? And Spider-Man has like supernatural strength, but she's just like, "Bzz,
Spider-Man
kill him."
doesn't kill people.
It doesn't. Yeah, they don't kill people, bud.
No.
Knock them out, bro.
Yeah, okay.
But yes, no. And the thing is, like, she's not knocking him out faster. She's just doing it stealthily, and you can do the same thing as Spider-Man. You just literally. click, and
Apparently,
you
there's one mission that you
flip your
play as
face.
her, and it looks identical to a Watch Dogs mission. You're like, is this a copy and paste from another game I know? I'm like, okay.
I didn't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't.
Yeah, I'll have
comment
to
on
send it
that,
to
but
you.
everything felt good.
Yeah,
So, and at this point, I'm at the end of the game. I'm like on the last mission. So
There you
like,
go.
Yeah, I know what
Almost done.
mission you're probably talking about, and it may be, I guess, going through the housing development. Maybe.
I think so. I think that's what it was.
But- Let's talk about Ubisoft, Scott.
Yeah, you said housing development. Speaking of things that still are gonna be in development until the day we all die. Must be a Sunday, must be the Press Start podcast because Ubisoft has delayed Skull and Bones yet again. This is the 6th time. They've also delayed they've canceled 3 games and they've also delayed another large game. That's the only thing they've given us was it is a large game. So we're not expecting to see anything for Skull and Bones until like FY 2024-25, which means April 2024 at the earliest. And then the large game also until the Q 2024-2025. And then once again, they haven't told us what that is. But this is a, in a move that surprises absolutely nobody. Skull and Bones, once again, you will not be seeing that anytime really soon.
Yeah, I mean, this is
don't-
honestly speaking of glorified DLCs. That's what Skull and Bones, to me, truly, the original premise of it was a build off of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. They basically took naval combat and like we're gonna make its own game.
Yeah, and they've said it was basically due to major challenges in the industry, the underperformance of Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope, and then just restructuring
Yeah,
overall.
not
But,
sure if
I mean,
Ubisoft
how many
knows what they want to do.
times- Yeah, define restructuring because I think at this point they just mean structuring because there's not a lot of structure that they've had to begin with. So like, how do you restructure something that didn't really have it to have it there to begin with. It's like
Right.
it's like you're playing a game, and every time you load in, you want to play a different character. Like you haven't even built off of enough to move forward, and yet here you are, restructuring,
I
delaying
get it.
games that people want, canceling more, delaying other large games. Damn,
It's Ubisoft.
it's just another
I've
just.
I've come to expect this. Like it just there are no hits. It seems with Ubisoft lately.
The hits are to anybody who wanted to play Skull and Bones, play any games that actually wanted to come out. That's where the hits are getting. That's where they're landing, is
Gut
on
punches, yeah.
all of their players' patience. It really is the only hits that Ubisoft has had in quite a bit.
For sure. So Roger, if you want to talk about this new studio here for us.
Yeah. So Saudi Arabia has joined the battle. It sounds like Artisan Studios, a new AAA game developer, will be opening in Riyadh. It will employ 200 people, over 200 people, and will be creating the first AAA game out of the Middle East.
Be
That's
interesting.
all we have on that,
Yeah,
though.
that's
I'm
some
I'm
big news
just
coming out of there.
I'm kind of wondering how morality and their stance on things will play into this because are all the women in games going to be wearing hijabs? What kind of is it going to be
Well, and this also,
religiously it,
yeah, this also leads into like let's take it back a second. Let's go to Spider-Man 2.
yeah.
Um, for the Middle Eastern releases and for the releases in countries that aren't LGBTQ friendly, they've removed the game's dialogue for it. They've removed flags. They've
Hmm.
removed everything.
Yeah.
So you're really gonna get a you're we're gonna I think we're gonna see just a culmination of everybody thinks they're right, and everybody thinks that their version or their opinion is the right version. The
Yep.
only thing is, I don't think that this game studio would be willing to undersell themselves just to get it into another country like Sony did, because Sony's all about LGBTQ. But hey, if your country doesn't want that, we'll delete it, no problem, and then
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and keep saying that we're very pro LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Love is
Like
love. The world should be right. And then if you want to
and
sell this shit in Saudi Arabia,
and that's
they
crazy to me.
they quote unquote delete the gay shit.
Yeah,
Like,
and like it's crazy to me that like in Spider-Man 2 they're so like they did it really well with like people with disabilities. Like one of the characters is deaf. So like they did really well. They made sure to have signing in there. It was accurate. The characters, at one mission you play as that deaf character and they give you an experience where you can't hear. So you go through the mission deaf.
Hmm.
And it was a really interesting experience. They care about the characters that are LGBTQ, and like it's so well done. Like it just feels natural as opposed to forced,
Hmm.
and I'm just surprised that they remove that.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
anything to make a buck,
yeah.
honestly. I mean, and I've always been a big kind of shout out to these big companies that stand with everybody as long as they'll make a dollar.
They'll stand
I
with
mean,
everybody but stand for nothing.
yeah, well, it's like Call of Duty. Well, yeah, or any other big company changes their profile picture to the rainbow in June, and except for Call of Duty, fucking Iraq, like they don't change that shit. And that's just Sony doing another thing. So it's really interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how these individuals and the game they make and give that to the
So
world. How
Yeah,
that entirely, I wouldn't say new perspective, but relatively out of date perspective or very
yeah,
stubborn perspective is gonna be projected to the world. Like,
and
are they willing to go outside of their bounds to make something that maybe does include LGBT or anything like that? Like, I
it's going to
very
be a really
unlikely,
interesting thing.
but
Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's gonna be interesting to see
what
what
kind
they
of
come up with.
genre are they even going to
Well,
choose?
I
Like,
I
can
know.
well I can give you an idea because Artisan Studios actually has been around already. Like they made the game Astria Ascending. They're
mhm.
they're a French Canadian developer. They're just opening up a new studio. Like this will be their Saudi Arabia studio as opposed to their French Canadian studio. And their new one is
Well, if
apparently
they
supposed to
made
be focused.
Astria Ascending, then I have zero hopes for the studio to make anything of quality.
But apparently they want to stick to some kind of RPGs is their goal of some sorts, whether it be 2D or a 3D
Okay.
RPG. So that's
Well,
what
and
we
that's
have
where
like look
like
forward to.
just trying to see what these guys come up with from the Saudi studio, or is it gonna be tailor made to like their their public opinions, their rules, their religions,
Right.
their view on the world. Interesting to see them
But
cross over
I
into
just want to
there.
talk about the Saudi Arabia part in general because like we they've been on our show recently because they've been investing a ton of money into other
Yep.
developers and trying to get the gaming industry to take off in Saudi Arabia. I mean, we can't like front them like there is a shit ton of money in Saudi Arabia, and like if they can come out and make some good shit in Saudi Arabia, I'm all for it. But like it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle the whole what they censor, what they don't censor, that kind of stuff. So we'll see how that plays out. But Scott, let's talk about a game that we're all looking forward to playing.
Man, Alan Wake 2 just keeps coming with the hits. This has been getting reviewed very, very well, and anybody who's played the original Alan Wake and was looking forward to this, I don't want to call it just yet, but rest assured that when you do hop in there, you are gonna be getting a quality, outstanding Alan Wake game. Not only that, New Game Plus is going to be coming. New Game Plus has been something that it obviously wasn't there the first time that Alan Wake was there, like at least that I can recall. And seeing that come out for Alan Wake, like it's gonna give people a lot more options and a lot of different chances to play this game, maybe a little differently and really experience anything they could have done that first go around. Just great news coming out of Alan Wake. This
Yeah,
is this is huge for them. They definitely didn't. I mean, I wouldn't say they needed it, but to see a sequel come out and be received this well is just, I mean, hats off.
yeah. Remedy doesn't miss. They missed one time, and
Yeah.
that was like one of their side studios with Crossfire X. But yeah, man, this is awesome to see, and it was instantly thrown into like Game of the Year talks. Like a lot of
Yeah.
reviewers are saying like this could be arguably Remedy's best game ever. Like, and
Yep.
that's saying something because they've made a lot of great fucking games. And just even going back to their last one that I played was Control, and I was like, man, that game was dope. And the fact that they tied Control into Alan Wake, and now it's this whole Control universe. Like, I'm actually curious to see how they actually tie Alan Wake 2 into Control. I've already seen the screenshots and stuff. You see the janitor that's in Alan Wake 2. Apparently,
Mhm.
he ties into the janitor from Control, and you're like, man, like I'm trying to stay spoiler free from anything I'm watching and stuff like that. So I'm like, man, there's just going to be
Hell
so
yeah, dude!
much.
Mystic Janitor, let's go.
Yeah,
Mystic Janitor is the only thing that
Well, like
keeps
that's
everything together.
actually a trope though.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
it's sort of like,
It's like
you
I'm like,
know,
fuck yeah, dude.
innocent bystander or like the omniscient bystander who's kind of like, I'm not here to help. I'm here to just watch, observe.
right.
Like Chevy Chase in Hot Tub Time Machine.
But just a comment though, real quick, because like I said it in our Discord chat when I dropped it. I was like, New Game Plus is coming later after launch, and I was like, why don't these like games come with it? Like Spider-Man 2 also launched and didn't have New Game Pluses being added later.
Yeah.
Alan Wake 2 launched it. Don't like when you beat the game, you're like, all right, well that's it, and you're gonna wait like 3 months down the road, and like, oh, it's New Game Plus out. I'm gonna go back to the game and replay it. Probably not. That
Well,
hype for that game is already that the ship
Gone.
has sailed.
Dead.
It's already gone.
well, devil's advocate here. Like, do you need New Game Plus on launch? Like, you gonna beat that shit in 10 hours? Maybe, but
The people that are
I
playing New
mean,
Game Plus, yes.
yeah, but then that's gonna give them time to. I mean, they have to have that little break because if they have something that comes out and it's busted, shit needs fixed. Like, you can't just
But
spend all that time
a
worrying about
lot of
New Game
games
Plus.
release with it. Like that feature should just
I don't
come with
know.
the game.
I
Eh,
agree with you there, Vic. I think New Game Plus is one of those things like
You're just replaying the game.
if
You
you
just have
want
your
it,
abilities
if
and your skills.
yeah, if you want it, why isn't it there? Like if you're going to as a developer put in New Game Plus, why wasn't it there to begin with? Like why waste the time putting it in after the fact?
Yeah.
eh, Carrot on a stick, maybe.
I mean, look at
Yeah,
Starfield. I mean, honestly, I understand why Starfield had it at launch because it's part of the gameplay loop of Starfield. But like,
yeah.
Starfield is a very massive game, and they included the New Game Plus. Why can't all these other games that are like a quarter of the size of Starfield? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, if they did that, we wouldn't have anything to complain about. I would cut the show by like 20
Right.
minutes.
So I mean, out of all of the news with Alan Wake 2, that is the only negative thing I have to say about it. I'm really looking forward to playing it this year. But let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. And I wanted to cover this one specifically because it is my character in Valorant. Raze has yet got another sad, sad, sad update. The paint shells, which is the grenade, the primary grenade explosion radius has been shrunken down by zero point 0.5 meters, so from 6 to 5.5. The secondary grenade radius also went down from 6 to 5.25. And then also on top of that, the explosion minimum damage went from 15 to 1. And I'm like, just making
That's
this bitch like useless at this point.
Getting fucking
Like
get
nothing
fucking
is going to
nerfed.
be useful at all. And then on top of that, like the blast pack, I mean, obviously this wasn't really useful for damage, but the satchel no longer does damage until it is fully armed. And on top of that, the arm time increased from 0.5 seconds to 1 second. So it's like, why are we nerfing her into the ground like, even more? Like, you already made a lot of her abilities just useless. Now, like, you're making the character almost irrelevant at this point. Roger, what's your thoughts? Because I know, obviously, you're a big Valorant player. What's your thoughts on the whole meta?
I'm not a big Valorant player anymore, but honestly, I think these are kind of unneeded. From the last time we played, I thought Raze was pretty balanced lately. Like her Roomba is pretty undercharged. It's not like overpowered, and it wasn't underpowered. It was pretty much fair where it was. Her grenade I always thought was relatively fair. I think it was a little annoying that at times like you could be like, on the outside of the grenade and you're like still 15 damage. You're like, the fuck? They're like, you could look at it and take damage, it felt like. So maybe there's something we're not seeing in the esports right now that's causing this change. But then again, we're talking about Riot here. Riot will choose a character and they will curb stomp them into existence
Yeah,
for no apparent reason.
Just because fuck you. Just because
it's-
fuck you.
'cause
Because it's Riot.
I was there when they fucking nerfed the room, like the robot that goes out and chases. Like it used to actually
Roomba.
explode and fucking kill people. Like it had a
The
chance of
Boomba.
killing people. If you didn't fucking shoot it, you didn't dodge it, it was probably going to kill you if you didn't have heavy shields, or at least somewhere around there. And then like they lowered the damage, so now it became useless. It doesn't really kill nobody. It was more of like a recon tool. Well, now then they shortened the fucking distance. Like it doesn't travel as far. Like you throw it out there and it fucking just disappears instantly. And it's like and then like even before I even started playing, I know the satchels actually used to do damage. They don't do damage no more. Like period.
They, their whole thing used to be to deal with like people's
Like Sage
utility
Wall, stuff like that. Yeah.
things that were dropped and on the ground. So like anything that you built in the game, whether it be turrets or
The Sage Wall.
robot or wires, it was meant to deal with those things.
Yeah, and it's sad to see, honestly, but we'll see how that goes. Roger, I gave you this last topic here because I know you're a big Batman fan, and I think you enjoyed the movie that recently came out.
I love the movie that came out. The new Batman movie was fire. And then the comic that came out as the prequel to the movie was fucking fire because they released the Riddler Year 1 comic and you got to see how the Riddler became the Riddler. Like that whole thing is awesome and I'm excited for what comes next.
Yeah,
Like,
Batman
that,
2. It's
this
already in
this is
production.
where DC, yeah, I know. And this is where DC is going to get their resurgence if they can keep with it.
Hmm.
Oh, they're gonna
What-
fuck it up.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
They're gonna fuck it up. Yeah,
Oh,
no.
easily. Like, look what happened with the Flash. We were like, let's
Oh,
stick
yeah.
with Ezra. He is literally costing us money, and he is literally a criminal. And we're like, let's stick with this guy.
Grant Goose is my Flash. I feel like every
This
time
is my-
CW Flash is the best Flash. So I feel like every time
Yeah.
DC releases a movie, it breaks the timeline, and
Yeah.
and we are just consistently in the timeline that 8 times out of 10 get shitty fucking movies, and so I know there's a timeline out there that got a really fucking good Flash movie, or like got just a really fucking good movie where Sony didn't fuck it up after the director's cut and everything like that. Like, man,
Yeah.
fucking
I wish DC could get it right. Like, Black Adam was enjoyable. Like, everything else has just been like.
and the
I
thing
was
is,
so
like,
hyped for Blue Beetle, and I heard that was awful. I didn't even
and
see
like
the Flash,
at the
and I
end
heard
of
that was
Black
bad.
Adam, like the end of Black Adam, they were literally like, Superman's here.
And-
Let's fucking go. Like
Yeah.
we're going to have like game-changing big boss fights, and they were like, that's not canon anymore.
They're like, yeah,
"Oh,
no.
No,
They're
just,
like, yeah,
just
no.
kidding.
we saw the internet's hype. We saw you guys were excited. So fuck yourselves.
Yeah, I was like, man, they dropped the ball here. But let's stick along the news
Yeah.
here that we're announcing
But
here for Batman.
Batman Arkham Knight is actually getting a DLC 8 years after release. The Robert Pattinson Batman suit is going to be added to the game with its Switch release.
Yeah, I guess that's
Which
cool.
is dope.
Yeah,
Which is
That's
dope.
cool.
I'm right there
That's
with
cool.
you.
Yeah.
The latest Batman was absolutely fucking fire.
Oh,
maybe I get to
so
check it out because this is adding
like
to the collection of the trilogy,
If you love
yeah.
and
Nirvana,
I
you're gonna love it.
and I haven't beaten the third game yet in the city, which is in the trilogy, which is City. So maybe I'll be able to check out his skin there when I do check that out. But that is all of our gaming news. Let's go ahead and move on here to our leaks and rumors. Alright, I'm going to kick it off here with a leak in regards to Valorant. There was a image that appeared up on Twitter showcasing that there could be a new weapon being added to Valorant, and it is a new sniper called Outlaw, and it costs about 2,400 credits. And I was really interesting because, like, is this a necessity? Like, what is it going to do differently versus the op or the marshal? Like, where does it fit in that meta? Roger, you have any thoughts on where this could really fit into the game?
Honestly, I like Jeff Slug's idea. He had a really good take on it in our Discord in the Lunacy Arts Discord, where he said this could fill the niche between the marshal and the a sniper that can one shot you without shields. Something to really deal with that that sort of meta where you need something an economy rifle that can still deal with people, but mostly is used for that shieldless meta.
Right, well, like when someone buys, like, say, a Phantom and go light shields.
Or no, a phantom or a vandal and no armor on round two.
All round
You
two,
know,
yeah. Someone can just buy
so
that, pick them off, and that's it. GG's.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I guess we'll see how that goes. Cause I've always asked, like, why isn't there more guns in Valorant? I'd be curious to see. Maybe this is the beginning of it. Maybe we'll start to see newer guns that adds up and changes the meta.
And this could even just be instead of a new gun, this is just for the Chinese version of the game because it
Hmm.
did look like we're looking at either the Chinese or I believe that can't be Korean and that can't be Japanese from what I can tell
Right.
because the letters are too blocked. So I think it very well may be.
It could be, cause like even the
Yeah,
Chinese version has the replay system in it right now, where the North American version doesn't have it yet,
so
but they're adding it. So we'll see if that
yeah,
even comes to
so
ours.
maybe it may not come to us. And that was one of my thoughts. I was like, this is clearly one of the issues that maybe we're dealing with here. Is like it's just two separate versions of the game at this point.
Yeah, hopefully not though. But Scott, if you want to round out the news here, or with our leaks and rumors with news in regards to Nintendo.
Yes, sir. I finally get to talk about Nintendo in this episode. I was really worried I wasn't going to get a chance to. So Nintendo actually, there's a new patent that was out that shows a dual screen gaming device that can be split in half, can be separated. Um, are you pulling that up
Yep.
for our lovely, wonderful viewers? So yeah, looking at this, it's I think it looks like a more high tech DS at first. Um, but being able to separate it, I mean,
It just takes
I'm
that
not sure what
switch
there's
to the
like.
next level, honestly,
Yeah,
because like
it's
if this
you really
build
can, you really can effectively switch it up.
right, you can literally
I,
play different versions, and I like the idea of the fact that by making this game the next switch like this, you can add the entire DS backwards compatibility like to
yeah.
their online subscription, and I'm just like, man, this shit's a no-brainer. And the fact that then you'll be able to split the screen apart, you give your friend one screen, I have one screen, and it makes that interaction a little bit even better as opposed to having
Hmm.
one screen that you guys are both trying to look at with the Joy Cons. Like, what this could do is just like, man, this is some Nintendo
Yeah.
ass shit. This is some
This is
Nintendo ass
this
shit.
is yes, this is 100% some Nintendo ass shit because the only people that could do this and pull it off would be Nintendo, the mad scientists over there. Um, I can't wait to see if this really like truly does come to like fruition if they use this patent. Just because they have the patent doesn't mean it's gonna come out, but I would really love to see if this did come out. I'd really love to see what they can do with it.
What's your thoughts on this, Roger?
Honestly, I'm excited to see where this goes because what was next for Nintendo? Where were we going? What happens after the Switch 2? What's their next big jump? What's the next technology we're going to see? Because Nintendo's always the one kind of building the way for emergent technologies in gaming and uh, and experience.
Hmm.
So I think this definitely looks interesting. Whether or not it comes into fruition, it'll be yet to see. But what's also interesting is it kind of follows along the trend where phones are right now, where we have all of these sort of foldable phones that are coming out.
Right.
Nobody's using them because they're too expensive. Will Nintendo be the first to kind of put us into that market where we're getting that sort of folding out game console? Is it going to be the thing that puts us into a new space in technology?
It could be.
And make it affordable.
Hopefully.
You know,
Affordable.
Yeah.
affordability is going to be the big one, but I can't. I'm excited. This is what happens when you just give people money when their main focus is whether or not they could, and they don't even give a shit about whether or not they should. They just don't care. They don't
Yeah.
care at all. They're like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's see if it works. If it works, cool, let's sell it. If it doesn't, meh, whatever.
Yeah, I just, I just,
No
I just,
skin
I
off
just
our
love the
backs.
idea, the fact that like it's like the next iteration of the Switch, and they're adding like another way to play the game, and they're bringing in like another part of their backwards compatibility. Like you have
Mhm.
access to all of their old shit, the OG Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, the fucking the Wii U shit's all coming. Like everything is playable on the Switch, and they're just like, we can't play the DS games on the current Switch. We gotta make a console that can play Switch, everything it all can do, and we're gonna bring back all the DS shit.
Make it playable or betterer
Yeah, it's
is I'm gonna assume the slogan for that.
so really excited to
It,
see where that
it
goes.
honestly is just it's what we've been asking for in the market. It's the way to play your games forever legally.
Right, without emulating and pirating and whatever else you want to do, or paying $100 or hundred
And
and
the
fifty
fact
dollars for a game.
that all it is a subscription fee, and it's the cheapest subscription
It is.
fee out of all three.
Yeah,
By far.
that shit's cheaper than my NBC, man. I don't even use that. Fuck.
But guys, that is all of the leaks, rumors, news, everything we got for you guys this week. So we do want to start off by thanking everyone who did check us out live here today on Twitch, and anyone who does check us out later on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. But Roger, where can the community find you at?
Right now, I'm not streaming, and I don't really use social media. But if you want to find me, you can find me and the rest of my friends in our group at the Lunacy Arts Discord.
And what about you, Scott?
Not that I really was streaming a lot to begin with, but I also really haven't been doing any streaming. So don't worry about finding me on Twitch anytime soon. But if you do want to get a hold of me here on Discord, you can get a hold of me at my handle's Scubby1. Or if you want to play some games on Battle.net, Scubby1, numbers are 11780. Or if you want to see kind of what I'm up to in my personal life, doing, the Ren Fair, getting wedding venues, stuff like that, you can always get a hold of me on Instagram at Scubby1.
And of course, everyone, you can check me at Twitter at Mr. Never Chillin _ Threads is at Mr. Never Chillin. Xbox for any gaming, hit me up there, X Never Space Chillin. Facebook is Vic Brubacher for any questions, concerns, or if you want to come on the show, hit me up there. And I am streaming over on my Twitch pretty regularly at twitch.tv / Mr. Never Chillin, where I will be beating Liza P hopefully in the next couple of days before November 1st. And then obviously I got to get through Sea of Stars, pick up Starfield again, and then also start playing our new game for Game Club, which we will be voting on November 1st. So definitely come check that out as well. It's going to be some smaller games. Right now, the two games that have been revealed is Cocoon and Firewatch. I know what the third game is, but find out on November 1st when we start voting.
I'm voting for Firewatch.
But we do want to thank everyone again, and make sure you come check us out in the after show over in our Discord there if you guys want to continue any conversations. But until next time, peace.
Restart podcast.